Welcome. Welcome to the City Council meeting. Thank you all for being here this evening. I'm going to begin with a roll call from my right. Thatcher here.
King here.
Hollowell present.
Let the record show that we do have a quorum. Don't know what the beeping was, but okay. All right, if you all would stand for the invocation, I'm going to ask Councilman Hollowell to lead us in prayer. Thank you.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for another day that you've given us and all your blessings that go with it. Thanks for this opportunity to get together as a community to discuss and deliberate on the business affairs of Winnsboro. We just ask that you give us the knowledge and wisdom we need to make the best decisions for the whole of Winnsboro. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Now for the pledge to the American flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you all. Kristen, I'm sorry, I forgot to state the time. Okay, you got it? Okay. Oh, are you good? Okay. All right, at this time we do have a proclamation. The mayor has signed a proclamation naming May 1st, 2025, National Day of Prayer. The United States Congress passed a law in 1952 designating National Day of Prayer as a day on which the people of the United States should turn to God in prayer and meditation at churches, in groups, and as individuals. And that concludes our proclamations, presentations, and announcements, which leads us to public comments. And I believe we have one citizen signed up for public comments. Ms. Jones, if you would come up and state your name and address. Is that speaker microphone on?
Yeah. Good evening. My name is Tremor Jones, and my address, you see?
Yes, ma'am.
202 Washington Street, Winnsboro, 75494.
Thank you.
So my concern is speed zone signs. Now on Elm Street, sign says 30 miles an hour. So you're going down a hill by Martin Luther King Park, there's a hill. You go down, so kids play on both sides of that street, and it's 30 miles an hour. So I was wondering if that could, if possibly it could be changed to 20, maybe in a sign that says children playing or whatever the sign is with the kids on it. And another street is Pine Street, right by the Leaves Apartments. There's not a sign between that point and the very end of Pine Street. It's a 30 miles an hour zone sign at the end of that street, but nothing in between there saying 20 or 30. I would think 30. I would think 20 since it's residential. So that was my concern.
Okay.
Thank you.
All righty, thank you. Okay, we have no other public comments. So at this time we'll move into item 6 on the agenda, consent items. Did everyone get a chance to look at the minutes, the financials? Do we have any staff reports this evening? Okay.
Madam Mayor, I move that the City Council approve the consent items as presented.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, that brings us to item 7.1, notice of agreement with law enforcement partners for a police department calendar fundraiser. I've got to get this off my laptop. You want to explain what we got going here?
Yes. My name is Sam Mayer. I'm the assistant chief of the police department, and one of the chief Brown and I have been trying to push a lot of community policing, and we want to get back with our community. We want to be able to get our officers out there. We want to be able to interact with with the children. That's one of the best ways that we can get out there. So there's a program that I was contacted by. It's called Law Enforcement Partners, and basically we just wanted to. They have a calendar, which I believe y'all were able to see. Basically what they would do is they would come into the city and they are going to sell ads, each one of these, and they have different prices for different things, and then they would allow us to submit pictures that would go across the top of the calendar. We can do everything from, we can do headshots, we can do different things, officers out in the community. Not only do they do that, then they also have a coloring book that comes along with it that we get for free. And we get 250 of those, and we get 250 stickers as well. Now we can purchase more of these. We can purchase more of these, and we can purchase more of the stickers. It's very low cost. But on top of all this, there is no cost to the police department, no cost to the city, and not only that, they are going to give us money based on how much they raise. The only thing that has to be done is a letter has to be signed from the city authorizing them to come in and sell ads. Each sponsor, if a business was to sponsor one, to sponsor an ad on here, then they would get 50 calendars. And then at the same time, each one of those sponsors in the city would get one, and then they would also bring 50 calendars to the PD that we would be able to hand out to the public. And if a sponsor was to run out of those, the question was asked, how much would it cost to get more? They said their answer was within reason to the fact of under about 500 extra at the point that we could show them that we had run out, then we would get those as well for free. So basically, there's not a cost, and they'll even come down and do in our coloring book, because they want the kids to know, the police officers and everything, they will look like a character of like the chief and some of the officers here in the city, so that our children can get to know the officers and make them feel comfortable and everything.
Yeah.
Do y'all have any questions about it?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Did they give you any kind of idea of the pricing that the businesses are gonna have to pay to get an ad?
Yes, sir. I believe it ranged from 250 up to the largest one being 750. Yes, ma'am.
So the police department gets a percentage of that?
Yes, ma'am. Now we do have to, or not a percentage of it. It's a set. I guess it would be a percentage because they did say it would range somewhere between about $2,000 and $2,500. But the thing with it is, we have to designate what we're going to use that for. Either some of the examples they gave were like National Night Out. If we were going to use that money for that, or some of the other examples that they had, which we don't have here, people would be like our K-9 program, or if we were going to put it, you basically have to designate where that money's going to go to and show them what you're going to use it for. And once you commit to that, that's what that money has to go to.
What do we plan to use that money for?
Based on getting the approval, that's when we were going to start trying to figure it out. This would not be they would basically come in and start doing this in September. I believe when we talked to them in September and this would be a 2026 calendar. Now, they did say that as soon as we sign with them and everything, they will go ahead and get us the coloring books and the stickers, because that's one thing. For instance, today we were at the elementary school, and that's one thing that we would like to have is things that we can hand out to the kids. A lot of times that's that bridge that we make, with our officers as they're out in the community. Having things like that is big, but that's something they would go ahead and get us immediately. And then the calendars would basically be sold for a 2026 calendar, and
Is it magnetic? It looked like it was magnetic.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
It's pretty good size. It seems like good durability. One of the local, they did send a list with some references. The closest agency to us is Kaufman PD, and I did call over there. They seem to be happy with it.
So will the calendar come with like dates that you already do certain things on, like for your choice?
No, it just comes as just a
basic.
plain.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
As a business owner, I can tell you, I don't think you'll
I was really skeptical when I first got it. I've been about the last 5 or 6 weeks. That's when I very first got it. And I told the lady, before I ever took this to the chief or to the city administrator, I told the lady, I said, you've got to tell me what the catch is here. There's nothing, and that's when I called Kaufman PD and I asked, I said, at the end of the day, was there any catch to this? And they said no. They said it was everything that they said it would be and nothing else.
Did they share with you how much they were able to raise?
They did not. I didn't ask that question. But I can. Find out, yeah.
Just curious. I mean, it would be good to know if you're going to make plans for how much, what you're going to spend. Okay. Y'all have any other questions?
I like it.
Thank you. Okay. That's, doesn't require any action. Okay. That brings us to 7.2, action on ordinance 1085-2025, granting SWEPCO a non-exclusive franchise for conducting electricity in the city of Winnsboro. And as I understand it, this is kind of one of those gotta-do-it kind of deals, right, Mackenzie?
Awesome. So I move that the city council approve ordinance 1085-2025, granting SWEPCO a non-exclusive franchise for conducting electricity in the city of Winnsboro.
I second.
All right, we have a first and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. I just hit the X.
Yeah.
Holly, are we supposed to hit the 4, or do we just exit out of the when it pops up like that? It's popping up. I don't think it'll let us do anything. Okay.
That's because you're not.
It only comes up when you're on the website, not when you have the agenda
You
folder
want to
separate.
split screen?
Well, leave it to the young one to know the technology. Well, I tried, and it wouldn't.
No.
Okay. All right, that brings us to item 7.3, action on resolution 2025-04, suspending the April 19, 2025 effective date of the proposed CenterPoint Energy GRIP rate adjustment for gas utility services. Again, Holly, this is don't have any choice.
It is
Housekeeping thing.
increase our gas bills.
Yeah,
Just so
but-
that everyone is aware of that.
I did too.
It's just to push it back 45 days.
They're going, but as it either way, after 45 days, it's going to be a $2 a month increase from CenterPoint.
That's all we can do.
Every year we suspend it once.
Yeah. All right. I would entertain a motion on item 7.3.
I move that the city council approve resolution 2025-04, suspending the April 19th, 2025 effective date of the proposed CenterPoint Energy GRIP rate adjustment for gas utility services.
I second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carried. All right, that brings us to 7.4. Love it when we just knock them out like this.
Yeah, that's great.
Action on ordinance 1084-2025, excuse me, repealing ordinance 924-2015 and amending chapter 3 of the Code of Ordinances to establish vacant building regulations. Okay. Everybody get a chance to look that?
Can you give an explanation of the details of that?
Yeah, Mackenzie, if you would, just give us an overview.
So this is, previously the vacant building ordinance was restricted to just the downtown businesses. This particular ordinance expands that citywide. Some of the numbers that we were asked to run is what is it costing the city to have vacant buildings in our city. It's difficult to quantify what the loss when there's, you really have to assume quite a bit. We did run those numbers. I might have to have Tanya explain this.
I was waiting.
Yes, we're gonna let Tanya explain that revenue.
Basically, we believe there's approximately 30 vacant buildings. taking approximately half that many would fall under exemptions that are under the vacant buildings. If you're actively trying to lease, trying to sell, has to be market rate. There's a lot of things. It's like you can't try to rent a downtown building for $10,000 a month and say you're trying to lease it. So there's a lot of stipulations that go into that, but what we did just as very conservative numbers on sales tax only. This doesn't include property tax, only sales tax, because people are paying property tax. But for sales tax only, approximately, if you figure about half of them, then at the very least, if the estimated annual sales is $100,000, is about $22,500. At $500,000, it's about $112,000. If every business were to be paying into the sales tax and they were all full, then that number doubles significantly. So there's a very significant loss of revenue depending on, you know, the various ranges of what a sales tax is. And so what we're attempting to do is just to make sure that there's, you know, the only reason to have commercial property is if it's being developed. And you know, we want to honor, we want to make sure that the vacant buildings themselves don't become dilapidated. I know some of them are already old, but we just
But we need to try and recoup some
yes,
of that
yes,
loss.
to recoup
That's
a
a
little
lot
bit.
of loss, and that puts an extra burden on the businesses that are in business, having to bear all the burden for everybody.
And it's
Yes, it does.
It does, and it also, you know, if you've got an empty building next to you, then oftentimes that creates, you know, a hardship for your business. It can.
Right.
It lessens foot traffic depending on the condition of that building. There's other factors that go into whether or not you're going to go shop there. To the ones surrounding it, if there's 2 or 3 empty buildings right where you are.
Right.
And so there's factors from other merchants, but there's also just a lot of lost revenue
Right.
to the city.
Okay. Well, thank you. Go ahead, Councilman Borman.
Exactly what makes a building vacant? I couldn't find that defined.
It's toward the top. Yeah. It's all the definitions are toward the top.
Well, I guess I didn't think of it.
So, the short answer, do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay, short answer is 1, 2, 3. Currently has an inactive city utility account, is used solely for the purpose of personal business or storage, has been actively listed for sale, or is unsecured. So in summary, 90 days after a building becomes vacant, the property owner has 90 days to either get it on the market, have it released, or to have an active renovation permit from the city.
Okay, if you have a vacant building in the sense that there's nothing in it, but you have a utility account for it, it's not vacant?
It's 4. So it says there is a presumption of vacancy if all lawful uses in the building or structures have ceased or reasonably appear to have ceased for more than 90 days or matches 1, 2, or 3.
And it's a,
8,000 square feet, it is vacant.
and that's one thing different from some other cities is, you know, some of them it matters what the square footage is, and the bigger it is, and the more the fee is. But in this case, it's just, yeah, and it's fairly nominal considering, you know, but. So you have to register it as vacant. You have 90 days to change that, or then becomes a quarterly charge, and that's where the city can recoup. I think it was it 12,500 the first year, Tanya,
Well,
based
that's
on
it. That's-
15.
yeah, that's based on 15.
So that was an estimate.
It would recoup about 22.5 of about 50 total, you know, what would be total, and that's at the lowest level of, you know, if you're considering pretty much, if you're gonna occupy, a business more than likely, hopefully, you will have 100,000 or more in sales. I mean, it could be less, but that's probably the very low end. I would say that's on average, especially, gonna be low.
Yeah, conservative figure.
So that's the lower end. So
Did you
that's
have
why
a
I kind of did some levels, so you could see it's probably gonna be more a blending, you know, it's probably more like 50,000,
Yeah.
you know, to 100,000 would be with the value, because there are some larger buildings that are open
Right.
that would generate potentially quite a bit, and then there's some small that might just be a small retail
Sure,
space.
Question?
I just want to point out too, when you have a lot of vacant buildings in the town, it gives an image that the town's dead, and people looking to possibly locate a business here, think, well, there's nothing going on here, it'd be a waste of my money to do that.
Right.
That's a good point.
Okay, well, anybody else have a question for Tanya or Mackenzie? Nobody? If there's no further discussion, then I'd entertain a motion.
I move that the city council approve ordinance 1084-2025, repealing ordinance 924-2015, and amending chapter 3 of the Code of Ordinances to establish vacant building regulations.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to 7.5, action on ordinance 773-2023A1, amending the Code of Ordinances related to plan development zoning, removing the 5-acre minimum requirement. Mackenzie, you want to explain, Lucy?
There are going to be a couple of items tonight that we're going to talk about plan developments. This first one is for all plan developments forever in the history of the city of Winnsboro. That's what we need to change it. Currently, in order for a plan development to be considered, there's a 5-acre minimum. So what we're asking you to do is to just strike that so that council can decide on a case-by-case basis. That's all this particular item is about, and it has no impact on the other two
Gotcha.
development discussions.
All right. Any further questions for clarification? Discussion?
I move that the city council approve ordinance 773-2023A1, amending the code of ordinances related to plan development zoning, removing the 5-acre minimum requirement.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion to approve and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, motion carried. That brings us to 7.6. At this time, we're going to begin the open public hearing to receive testimony regarding the proposed plan development at property located at 507 North Main Street, Winnsboro, at 554. All right, and I believe we have, is there anyone here who received notice and signed up to speak ahead of the meeting?
I didn't sign up because I don't receive notice.
Okay, if you'll approach the bench, we'll get a microphone over there.
Here to sign in.
Oh, yes. Is it?
Oh, the sheet's over
It's.
there. Another sheet.
And then you'll have to state it, your name and address for the record on the microphone. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lori Wharf, and I live at 600 North Main Street. It's kind of weird being back in this building again, in this room, because I served on the city council for 10 years, several years ago, when my kids were in school here. I do not know exactly what is being planned to go into that lot across the street, but I've heard rumors that it would be like a multi-dwelling residence, which is the kind of residence that was at that location before. And when it was there, something like that before, there were a lot of legal issues, a lot of police activity, a lot of drug deals. And I, as someone, living, across the street from that, I'm really not interested in having a repeat of that scenario. So I don't know if it's low-income housing, if it's a structure that shouldn't be just kind of thrown together, if it's really upscale. Also,
Yeah, we're gonna go over all of that, but go ahead and finish your.
okay, I mean, because I really have no idea what's,
Sure.
these are just the thoughts that are going through my mind. Also, I looked up planned development zoning, and from my understanding from looking at it is that at any point in time, the structure that's there could be utilized for anything. It could be turned into like a mini mall or a strip mall, and I really do have concerns about that too. Going forward, if someone else buys the property and decides to put some shops in there, and that's right across the street, from my home. So, I do have some concerns about it, and I guess at this time, I'm really not in favor of having just a repeat performance, and also run the risk of having some businesses be there in what is really a residential corner. It's far enough away from the downtown area that it is a residential area, and it would be very awkward, I think, to have businesses there, or to have a multi-dwelling residence like was there before and was such a disaster.
Okay, all right.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you, thank you. Do we have anyone else who, yes, ma'am? Yes, ma'am, we need you on record. You want to take that? We'll bring this to you to sign at the podium. We'll let the young one do it.
I also live close to this main street. I live on
Yeah.
County Street.
I'm sorry. We need you to state your name and address for the record, please.
Oh, Sylvia Rogers at 106 West Patton Street.
Thank you.
I'm a utilities, I don't know.
That's
I'm
okay.
not really speaking in public. But I also have lived there off and on since I was 7 years old. It has gone from a good neighborhood, a very well to brick houses and apartment buildings and things like that. So I also, like Ms. Wolf, has a
Concerns?
desire to keep it better than it has been, to upgrade it instead of downgrade it.
Right.
So I am also skeptical of putting, I don't know what kind of housing that y'all was thinking about it, but I also would like to keep it to better ourselves around there, because it's only gonna, we have apartments down, we have rent houses. It seems like it's going down, that people don't care about their property anymore.
Right. We care.
And we have had a lot of police going on, drugging and things like that. In that, I have also recommended to, police department to put a substation up there. They have a station down here, but they don't even know what's going on up there. High Street, the speeding, they think it's a drag strip, and they do, and raising their car, the motorizing of the cars and things
Right.
like that.
Yes, ma'am.
It is not becoming a good place, and the streets are not good either. But I also would like to say that, please, whatever you do, don't downgrade it. Try to keep Winnsboro a respectful
Moving
place.
forward. That's our goal.
Thank
All
you.
righty.
I appreciate y'all listening to me.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else? Okay.
This is gonna summarize the notices that went out.
Okay.
What the results were of those.
Great.
Because this is a public hearing, we're required to contact every property owner within 200 feet. When we ran that, it ended up sending out 30 notices were mailed. We had 3 that returned a response. One of them was in favor of the development, one of them was against, and one of them just wanted more information.
Gotcha.
To the concern about the plan development in the future, if this were to go away, all plan developments require council approval, time and time again.
Right.
So as it were to go, if this development were to cease to exist and someone else wanted to bring something in, council would have to approve that.
Right. Okay.
It's
Thank
not
you.
just zoning based.
Right.
It's also from the permitting process, council would have to approve it.
Thank you for clarifying. All right. So
Sure.
is this? I was going to say this is when we need to do this. Okay.
Hi everybody, my name is Toby Tucker. I reside in Dallas at 1639 Hanley Drive in Dallas, Texas. My parents live here in Winnsboro and have been here for almost 20 years. They're off of 4315 and 1443. My dad was a teacher at Pittsburgh High School for quite some time and recently retired, so very involved in the community. I grew up coming out to Lake Cypress Springs and enjoyed the area, and always enjoy coming out and spending time here. So my wife and I bought the property that we're talking about today probably 7 or 8 months ago with the intention of really trying to put something on that property that would enhance and beautify the city of Winnsboro. We really enjoy it here. We like bringing the family out and walking the cool little shops and neat areas. So to answer and kind of step back on some of the questions here, the idea here is actually bringing in townhomes, which are all single family owned. I'm not, and I've never had any interest in my history of developing and construction is dealing with rentals, because you do have a very good point that when you rent properties, people don't take a lot of pride in caring for the property in their house. So these will be sold individually, and then also supported by homeowners association, which will help keep the property neat, et cetera. So individually owned and sold. So not rented unless somebody were to buy it and decide they wanted to rent it if they were not residents there. So the style that we're looking for, I think Mackenzie showed a couple of pictures, really this modern farmhouse look, something that would really stand out in the city. It's close to downtown, it's walkable, so for those like my parents who are getting close to the age where they can't maintain 60 acres, they love Winnsboro, this would be a perfect place for those type of individuals that can come, have a place downtown, low maintenance, walkable to all the shops, etc. So I really think it would be a fantastic fit for that area. So quick of it is 6 units, a section of 3 and another section of 3, both facing West Pine Street there. So I think it would be really appealing for people visiting in town. It's walkable, and I just think there's a great opportunity to continue to develop the city, bring in some new opportunities, new construction, and show that the city of Winnsboro is really a pattern for growth. And from speaking with realtors in town, they've got quite a few people, just like my parents, that are interested in finding something in the town proper and continue to live out the remainder of their lives and really enjoy what the city of Winnsboro has to offer. So that's the quick short of it, and I'm here to answer any questions or comments. These are certainly not cheap dwellings. They're fairly expensive, to be honest with you. It's one of those where it's quite risky as far as I'm concerned, but it is something I take a lot of great pride in. I do have a background in construction and development and done a lot of projects in Dallas, specifically in conservation district and historic district. So really keen on an eye for a really authentic look that I think will fit really well here in the downtown Winnsboro area.
I know it's really early. What are you thinking roughly one of these townhomes would be sold for?
300, 325, that area, which is pretty high for out in this area, but we're really trying to bring in some really quality.
Yeah. What's the square footage?
I think we have it at 1,400 plus a 500 or 600 square foot garage drawn out now.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we did the overall site, which we might share here, but the overall site plan, which, that one's the old one actually, Mackenzie. The newer one was, all 6 units facing Pine, so, that's okay. I can send it to you, whomever, but. No, really, so all the units, because of the single individual ownership of each lot, they have to be facing West Pine. So it would be 3 here and 3 here.
Will they all be together? Will it be one building?
Sections of 3. So three units, 3 townhomes here, 3 next to it, with the entrance right down
So 6 individual dwellings, but they're a shared parking.
there. Correct. Yeah.
Will there be enough space for them to park?
Yes. Yeah, there would be
They
actually
won't be parking on the
garages.
street.
I think there's allowance for parking on the street, but there are two-car garages, covered garages. And then there's a back area there for common space. If we could squeeze 3 in there, we will. For sure, 2.5 bath, if we can.
As an older person, I know that as you get older, you're talking about.
Walking upstairs.
Yes, and also need smaller space to have to clean. So, how big, 1,400?
I think they're a little less than 1,400, how we have them drawn out now. That's no problem. It's all right. I can send it to you.
I have it, I just can't access it, I'm using your phone. Yeah.
Can you speak to what the view will be from Main Street as opposed to the houses will be facing Pine, you said, so what will it look like as we're coming and going up and down Main Street?
I envision, a 3 or 4 foot,
Pull up the pictures again.
non-privacy fence, so well-maintained, I guess somewhat similar to what you see here. So well-maintained, kind of beautified landscaping, so really, really appealing. I'm not anticipating, I don't want to build a 6-foot privacy fence. I want it to be open and airy and really get to see the view of the building. Hope that answers your question.
So is each unit?
If we're going to have questions from the audience, we need to come up to because people are watching, y'all have to come up and speak into the microphone if you're going to ask questions from the audience, so people can hear what you're saying.
Lori Wharf again, 600 North Main Street.
That's okay.
Are they 2-story or 3-story?
2-story.
2-story. All right.
Thank you. So that's the side right there, correct?
Yeah, this is just the style. This isn't exactly, we haven't done full plans on it yet. It's
Right.
just an idea.
So that's basically what it would look like from Main Street.
Yeah, it would be very similar to this.
Okay. All right. Does council have any questions for Mr. Tucker? It looks great.
Thank you.
I want that one. That other one. That-
Tell me which one you like.
I'm thinking no yard to, yeah, that one. That's the one I want. We need more housing, and to their point earlier, this would really bring up that area of town and be more in keeping with what's already on Main Street. When you get going east or west is when, well, west is when it starts getting a little bit downhill.
And certainly don't want to spill any beans here, but in chatting with some other folks in the area that have some older rental properties they're sitting on about this plan, if it is something that works and is well received, they are certainly open to doing something.
Great. All right. If there's no further, did you have something?
No, just a quick comment. Yeah, it's, and Mackenzie knows this, we've chatted several times. It is a big investment and a big risk as far as I'm concerned. So any support that I could garner from the city of Winnsboro to help bring this to fruition and the people in the town as well would be extremely helpful.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Tugger. All right.
Which one is that?
All right, if there's no further comments or questions, then we'll close the open hearing at 6:11 p.m. Which brings us to 7.7, action on the previous. Which is to rezone that property so that he can proceed with 507 North Main Street.
Plan development. It's plan development.
Which includes besides residential or.
Council gets to decide that. Like, literally, anytime someone petitions council for a plan development, it is entirely up to council on what goes there.
Case by case. Okay.
I move that the city council approve the request by Toby Tucker to rezone the property located at 507 North Main from B1 to PD.
I'll second.
All right, have a motion and a second. In favor? All of those in favor? Say aye. Aye. All right, motion carried. It's going to be exciting to see what you do. All right, that brings us to 7.8, action on ordinance 1083-2025, amending the city's comprehensive plan specific to the property located at 507 North Main Street, Winnsboro. This has to take place because of what we just did, so go ahead, Mackenzie.
Zoning map.
Just to update the map to reflect the change we just made.
I move that the city council approve ordinance 1083-2025, amending the comprehensive zoning plan regarding planned development.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, motion carried. Which brings us to, I'm kind of lost my place here. Thank you. 7.9, so at this time at 6:13 p.m. we will open public hearing again to receive testimony regarding the proposed annexation of property located at 1220 East FM 852, Winnsboro. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to this, who signed in, or who would like to speak to this and can sign in? Okay, if not, then we will close public hearing at 6:13 p.m. And that brings us to 7.10, action on personnel policy amendments. Mackenzie.
So I'm going to summarize the big points for you all. You've had an opportunity hopefully to review the changes in the personnel policy in its entirety. Our department heads and then a couple of their second in commands have spent several months working together as a team to figure out what would work best for them across all departments. And what we're presenting to you tonight is the result of those efforts. The biggest change is we are moving away from separating sick and vacation and combining it as PTO. It does a couple of things. It enables the employee to have more access to their time off, where right now, if it's sick leave and they've exhausted all of their vacation, they have to take time off that they cannot be paid for. And it also, we are redirecting donations. Currently, if you have in excess of any sort of accumulated sick leave, you can donate time to one specific employee at your discretion, whoever has the extra time. What we discussed in department head meetings is to put it in a pool. So if anyone has additional time that they're going to lose and they want to donate to a pool, then they can do that. The most anyone can ever draw out of the pool is 2 weeks, unless there is
Insinuating.
in there. I think there is one exception, and it has to go to an appeal board sort of situation. And we have a handful of employees currently that when we move to the new calculated amount, if you want to know what that is, I'm going to give me a minute to find it, 'cause I don't have that note in front of me. But we have a handful of employees who we are going to give until October 1st to burn any time that they would lose, so that everybody kind of starts on a clean slate. Any time that is not burned by October
those are two of the big ones. We also changed the complaint procedure, and what we did is streamline the process to make it easier for everyone to understand, where the employee that's appealing has 72 hours to let HR know. HR has 72 hours to let the appeal board know, and then the appeal board has 10 days to render a final decision. So it's consistent whether it's just an employee or it's a department head. That helps streamline the process for department heads who are having to put these policies in practice, and for HR, who is also having to work through some of these the appeals and complaints.
Yeah, it's crazy complicated the way it is right now. This is going to make it so much easier and so much better.
We're reducing PD probationary period from 12 months to 6 with the option to extend. We left the option to extend in there, so if there's a reason that they need to extend it, then they still have the 12-month option. We are also no longer requiring people to be off probation before they can take time. We've had instances where people who are on probation are having to come to work sick, even though I try to send them home because they're not eligible to take their time.
Yeah.
We felt as department heads that was a decision that could be made interdepartmentally by whoever supervisor that was.
Yeah. I love that it gives the employees so much more freedom and flexibility and meets their needs so much better than the way it is right now.
I will be it is a reduced amount of accrual. They are not accruing the same cumulatively that they are currently, but I believe that through our discussions we reached a number that everybody was comfortable with.
Okay.
There is a provision in there for longevity pay. You all approved this at the last budget season. This is putting it into policy. Essentially what it says, before it stated a specific dollar amount. Well, when I came, it's very difficult to meet that dollar amount because our budget wasn't in a position to really fund that, but policy demanded it. So the new change in policy says at council's discretion each budget season depending on budget. So it just again gives us that flexibility depending on our financial situation on whether or not we can afford to do that.
Right. Okay.
That's it.
Council have any questions? You guys have obviously put in a lot of work on that. Thank you for your efforts. Tanya, you're sitting over there like you didn't have anything to do with it. I know you did.
I'm just doing our live capture.
No, but we all did. I mean, it was a labor from everybody. I did do the capturing of it live as we were doing it, but it's a lot. And you know, this is important stuff to everybody. And as we're trying to keep and recruit people, but we also want to do what's right for the city and what's a benefit to the employees as well. And we really do feel like this is more representative. It simplifies a lot of things that are pretty complex in there, and it makes it more consistent. There were a few things that just weren't consistent interdepartmentally even, and so we're really hoping that that's what, and you know, a lot of these people are here really just to say they're supporting it, and we're all working together really well to make it all happen, so.
I'm happy to let any of them speak, by the way, if anybody wants to speak to policy.
Lisa, do you have any comments? Okay. Okay. Okay.
We've always found that just saying no to everything is very simple.
Not great for retention, but yes. It's very simple.
Can I leave? No.
Ryan, did you have anything you wanted to add? Okay. Sam? All right.
Jared, did y'all have anything y'all wanted?
Oh, I can't see y'all back there. Okay. Hey, Skip.
Cassie, did you have anything you wanted to add on policy?
See, I didn't ask the ones who were relatively new. I figured it'd be the more experienced.
Well, I move to accept the personnel policy amendments on action item 7.1
As presented.
as presented.
All right. We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Councilman Maury seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. Motion carried. And there it popped up again, huh? All right, which brings us to 7.11, convene into executive session so we can talk about our people. Pursuant to Texas Code, Government Code Section 551.074, personnel matters to discuss city administrator annual evaluation, move into executive session at 6:21 p.m. We would ask everyone else to bid us farewell. And thank you all for coming.